teen, it can feel like everyone else is calling the shots. Parents, teachers, coaches, they all have something to say about what you do. But your period? That should be 100% in your control. That's why Knix, the #1 leak-proof underwear company in North America, created KT for Teens, period products that put you in charge. KT leak-proof underwear, swimwear, and activewear give you the power to do what you want, when you want, without your period making decisions for you. Heavy flow during soccer practice? You decide to keep playing. Surprise period during a sleepover? You decide to keep the party going. Hitting the beach or pool? You decide when to jump in. No more sitting out, going home early, or changing your plans just because of your period. Because the one thing you should absolutely have power over is your own body. Ready to take back control? Visit knixteen.com now and get 15% off your first purchase with promo code CONTROL. That's knixteen.com, promo code CONTROL.
Lowe's knows how to get you ready for holiday hosting with up to 35% off select home decor. And get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, haul away, basic installation, parts, and a 2-year Lowe's protection plan when you spend $2,500 or more on select LG major appliances. Valid through 10/1. Member offer excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, and Florida. Installed by independent contractors. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Okay. Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Pastrnak sent it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Patra right in on goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get it to it. Score! The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand. Score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. I will be your host tonight. I am Maria from Watertown. If you are watching us on YouTube, you'll see that we have a returning friendly face joining us tonight in Maribeth, but missing is my co-host and partner in crime at Caroline with a K, and she is as the Bruins are deep in the throes of hockey with her own little hockey player. So welcome in, Maribeth. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thank you for providing us with what I know will be very informative and insightful hockey conversation, because you, my friend, are an absorber of hockey to the nth degree. I mean, I am just amazed by how much you're able to listen to and follow. And so kudos to you. And we reap the benefit of that at Tape to Tape. So thank you for that.
Maria. Yeah, I'm super happy to be here. And I just love that you guys give me this platform to come on and just talk hockey. It delights me to no end. So thank you.
Well, Huda, we all enjoy talking. And actually, I know that when we have you on, and I'm sure the same holds true for 4K, is that I always learn something that I didn't know about hockey or a particular, development camp or rookie camp or the Prospects Challenge, which we'll be talking about in great detail in tonight's episode. So we'll start by having you educate us in what the subtle differences or not so subtle differences are with what development camp is and what the prospect challenge or can we call that rookie camp?
So that's part of rookie camp. Yep. So essentially, I was on earlier night, as we know, for development camp.
Yes.
Development camp is actually this huge party. It goes on for 4 days. A lot of people show up because it's in the summer. So I think a lot of that's timing. The kids are out of school. The Bruins do a season ticket holder event like during, so the Warrior Ice in Brighton fills up. And it's a really exciting time. It's the Bruins prospects. I mean, this is the same for all, but it's the prospects. So it's people that we've drafted, and they could be in a bunch of different places within their development. It could be the newly drafted, which is always the fun thing to see at development.
Right.
But it could be some of the players who were drafted a few years back. They may still be playing in the juniors. They may still be playing NCAA. So it's not that we've seen them on our rosters yet, but there are invites at development camp. So it's people that the Bruins just want to get a closer look at. At rookie camp, it's winnowed down a little bit because the NCAA players aren't coming in. And we'll talk a little bit about why not. But by the same token, the U20 national leagues have started. So we don't see our Swedish players. We don't see any Russian players because their season is getting ready to ramp up. So when you get to rookie camp, it's generally going to be those players who are ready to play. There's a few exceptions to that. So with rookie camp, it's basically separate from the regular training camp. The big team, the real Bruins, started training camp today. And that's where we're seeing, David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy and all the roster that people are familiar with.
So by today, just for clarification, today is Wednesday, September 17th.
Yes.
And the Bruins officially reported to camp. There were no on-ice activities. Those activities will begin in earnest on Thursday.
Yes. Thank you for that. I forget that nobody's watching us live.
No, that's okay.
So as I talk about it. But rookie camp, it's going to be drafted players. It's going to be free agents and other young players. Some of them already in our system. Some of them, a few that are invites, but it's to showcase where are they in the development as far as that goes, or are you interested in them? But it's also an opportunity for the Bruins staff and the players to fill the rosters. These guys are starting to play for their jobs now. And some of what happens at rookie camp is it's going to be, hey, are you going to be playing in Providence? Or are we going to try and play you in Boston? Or are you still developing? So there's a few of those players who are still developing. But for the most part, rookie camp starts to become more of a tryout. Whereas development camp is more of a, hey, I want to impress you so you keep me in the system. Mm-hmm. This is more of a, I'd like a job.
So the name that people, have are the most curious about when it comes to, drafted players and future would be a James Hagens. And so just explain where, if you wouldn't mind, where he fits in to this scenario, or may not fit in quite yet to this scenario.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we did see him obviously at development camp. He was our newly drafted guy. Everybody was very fired up about him for good reason. He was incredible. But he's at Boston College this season as he was last year. NCAA players up until this season were not eligible to come to rookie camp at all. Basically, once they hit NCAA, that was that for the season, and they didn't have contact. Now, this year, the rules have changed a little bit, and it's a little confusing now for some people because we're not sure. Do we talk to this guy? Do we see this guy? They're NCAA. Right. What does it mean? But at this point, NCAA still is not eligible for rookie camp for a couple of reasons. They're not allowed. They could be at the camp. They can be away. They can go to a camp for 48 hours and have their lodging and a few other expenses paid for. And it's not considered a violation of their eligibility. But they cannot participate in external games or scrimmages. So part of rookie camp is 2 days of on ice with just your team, and then another 2 days as the prospects challenge. So that would be in our group, we go up to Buffalo, and there's a few teams that are playing together up there. So that would keep them ineligible for NCAA by playing in those games and defeat the purpose of rookie camp. The other piece of it is NCAA eligibility says they cannot leave classes for NHL camps.
Oh,
So any of our players who are NCAA playing this year, we're not going to see at a rookie camp. Or again, across the league, this is the case.
this is the case. Okay. Okay.
So now with rookie camp, we've got these 4 days, 2 of them here in Boston, and then 2 of them, well, it's really more like 3 or 4 days in Buffalo, a travel day.
Right.
Days, but 2 games up in Buffalo where they're playing around, they're scrimmaging, they're seeing what can they show us? How do these lines work together? The staff is now starting to say, how are these players responding to the pressure of a game? It's one thing to scrimmage at Warrior Ice with other Bruins friendly people. It's another thing to be up there playing the Devils prospects.
Interesting.
So that's what we're seeing. That's what's happening at rookie camp now.
So
Part of what happens is they're separating who's going to Boston, who's going to Providence, who's going to Maine.
yeah. So I'm just curious from a staffing perspective, just from my own curiosity. Did the Bruins coaching staff go to Buffalo? Like, for example, was Marco Sturm there? Was Don Sweeney there? Who from our coaching staff would have been present and accounted for those games?
So you're going to see at these kinds of camps, you're not generally going to see people like Don Sweeney. You're not generally going to see Marco Sturm up there. You're going to see Adam McQuaid, who just got a promotion, which we had, Director of Player Development. So you're going to see, you might see some of the coaching staff from Providence, some of the video coaches, but it's going to be the development coaches. It's going to be those types of coaches that you're going to see in at the rookie camp, at the Prospects Challenge, more than you're going to see, because they're the ones who are working with these younger players. They're the ones who are working down in the AHL, this ECHL.
Okay.
So they're going to be the ones that you're going to see up in Buffalo for Buffalo, and again, across the country. This is player development. When we're on the ice at Warrior Ice here, you're seeing Adam McQuaid and his team are running the show for the rookie camp.
I'm not sure if that makes me feel good, bad, or indifferent, to be honest with you. But be that as it may. So let's spend some time talking about the Prospect Challenge rookie camp and your takeaways from that in terms of, what stood out to you or who stood out to you, and then we can focus on the other spectrum of that.
Well, here's the thing. We all know I have my rose-colored glasses on, and I'm always hoping for the best. Rainbows and unicorns. That is my happy place.
And I just have that, that kind of dark cloud that seems to follow me around.
So I am actually, I was excited at development camp, and I'm still excited now. Now, again, rookie camp doesn't have that same level of excitement. We don't have all of our newly drafted players in there and stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's some good stuff happening. I'm seeing some really nice stuff coming up through the pipeline. Now, development camp, you're seeing a lot more drills. There's a lot more kids on the ice. You're seeing a lot more drills. You're seeing them, doing all of these different skating drills. So you're getting a different sense of where they are as far as their skating, as far as their development in that case. At rookie camp, you're seeing a lot more scrimmaging, a lot more moving around the ice as a team. So a lot more 3-on-3, a lot more 5-on-5. That was certainly part of development camp, but it's not all of development camp. That's more all of rookie camp. So for the 2 days that they're here in Boston, you're watching them put a couple of lines together, passing the puck back and forth. Their drills are more group oriented rather than individually oriented. Okay. And they're really getting ready to go and play a couple of games as a prospect team. Okay. Now, if you're watching the Prospect Challenge, first of all, this year was dramatically better than last year because they had announcers. Last year, the Prospect Challenge, they didn't have anybody announcing. Some of the teams did. We did not. So you watched it and you were basically just watching
guys skate around.
Yes, just quiet. And you're hearing the skates and you're hearing the pucks, and that's all fun, but you don't know what's happening. So this year they had an announcer from the Bruins and an announcer from the opposing team. So each one of them was announcing together and working together, talking about what was happening on the ice. It made it a much more user-friendly product. But watching those two games, they were two really different games this year. The first game, as we're watching this one, I'm thinking to myself, if this was any other time, I would have thought, you know what, this was a good game. I saw a lot of chances. I saw them trying a couple of different things, doing a lot of things. But by the same token, the ice felt really tilted. It didn't feel like we weren't able to close.
Okay.
So as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, well, you know what? It's a prospects challenge. These guys don't know each other. But then I said, they look a little too much like the big team. Taking chances, not closing, tilting the ice. And I was a little bit bummed. I thought, if this was just the prospects, that'll be fine. And I'm like, oh no, don't tell me that this culture is coming down.
Yeah, I was just, that you read my mind with respect to that, because it's just an institutional concern that continues to rear its ugly head that needs to change.
But game 2, totally different. There was 5-6 different guys scored. There was a bunch of great chances that were closed. There was a lot of good things happening. So that relieved me. I'm like, the first game felt a little too much like we can't close. And again, I like to see the chances, but by game 2, they were getting their act together. Now, again, they're playing in a bunch of other rookies, prospects, a bunch of other guys who don't really know how to play together yet.
Right.
Because remember, the players coming in for rookie camp may or may not have ever played together before. So you're putting together basically almost pickup teams. Now, they should be coming from the same system. Some of them have played together, but not all of them.
But I would think from a player development standpoint, that would say a lot to those who are assessing these players. Like if they don't have that ability or propensity to kind of be at ease with whomever they're asked to play with, that is somewhat, I would think, telling to a coaching staff.
I would think so too. And I do think that's part of the reason why rookie camp is 2 days of camp and 2 days of playing. Because can they play in this pressure? Can they start to work as a team with guys that they haven't worked with before? So I do think that there's something really telling in rookie camp. And I think it tells the staff a lot about the character and the playing style of everybody who's invited and everybody who's playing.
And I would think at the point that the Bruins organization finds himself at right now, where they need to infuse some youth into this roster, right? I mean, at some point, you need to play these players that you continue to draft or invite to your camp. So I would think that is even more heightened awareness for them right now, given where the organization is.
I would think so too. And we do have some great young prospects. There's, I got very excited about the Providence Bruins last year. I went to a couple of the playoff games and they had a great run. I think that sort of excitement starts to go through the younger guys, these rookie kids who may be playing for Providence, or some of them already did. And so I think that starts to bubble up. That's my hope of it, is that this excitement, that this energy that we're starting to feel with some of these younger kids, bringing in James Hagens really just brought it up to a whole new level. Will Zellers,
right.
The players that we have right now in NCAA are top notch and they're really exciting to watch. So a friend of mine today was like, yeah, but that's 2 or 3 years out. Not for all of them.
Not for all of them. No, you're right, because who knows, right? I mean, we've seen instances where, a player's NCAA season ends abruptly, right? And the next thing you know, they're signing to play with the big boys. So I think there is some brightness to the Bruins' future. It's all not gloom and doom. But this is a good segue into the games that you watched in Buffalo. Who stood out to you?
So we have a couple of players who really look great. I'm going to start with Fraser Minton. He, by far, head and shoulders above the rest. And there's a lot of people who did not think he belonged at rookie camp.
Well, I was going to get to that because it seemed like there was some conversation about that. He himself seemed excited about being part of that group.
Well, and the fact is, he's a team player. He came in, he said, "This is what you want me to do? Great, this is what I'm doing." Now, for those who aren't familiar with him, he actually came over from the Maple Leafs with the Brandon Carlo trade.
Right.
So he actually played with the Bruins 6 games last year. So we've actually already seen him with the big boys, as it were. We didn't see him at development camp. But the thinking seems to be the reason that he was asked to join rookie camp is because they didn't really get a whole sense of him last year. We didn't have him for too long. He didn't really, he played a few games, but of course, by then it was the end of the season and it was a different,
I don't think
you
you get a sense for anybody based on last season, honestly.
No. And so the thought seems to be, hey, let's see what he's got. Let's see where he fits in. One thing to remember is he just turned 21 in July. So he's still really young. He's still working on his development. One of the things I liked that I saw on the ice here in Boston was he was the last one off the ice. I always love to see that in a player that just to me says something about their leadership
and their work ethic.
Commitment. Exactly. Yeah. So I really like that. In watching him over camp and in the games, he's a guy that is just in the right place at the right time. He's got a really good hockey sense. When he was with the Leafs, he went back and forth between the Leafs and their AHL team, the Marlies. So he's done a little bit of NHL. He's done a little bit of AHL, which tells me that he can bounce around between the teams, that he's comfortable jumping on a line, and he's somebody who will do what needs to be done.
Is he a natural center?
He is a natural center, but I think at this stage of development, sometimes they're ending up where they sort of end up. So I think, I think of Trent Frederick. He was a natural center, got put on the wing here. Now, should he have been or shouldn't he have been? We could debate that because there's so many other things to debate there. But they talk a lot about he was a natural center. Would he do better to come back at that? So I do think a player should be played where their natural position is. But I think the other piece of it is sometimes that's not where your need is. And they just end up getting bumped.
I hear your point, but I just think that we have the Bruins organization has tried that one too many times.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But he is a natural center. He can easily come up and again, are we going to see him in Providence? Well, he's invited to training camp this week. He's trying out for a job this week. And we're going to see, are we going to see him in Providence? Are we going to see him in Boston? Is he going to be one of those players that we see a little bit of both in? But I think he's growing into himself. I think the fact that he's 21 now is telling us age-wise, his development is starting to get there, that he's somebody who can start to be it. The hockey sense that I saw, the place that he's in position, like all of that tells me really good things about how he's been developed so far.
Now, when you were watching these games, was your focus on, a player's overall game, or did you spend any time thinking about their two-way game? Because, our understanding is the season is that the Bruins want to be a harder team to play against, right? They want to, not let other teams come through their neutral zone too easily. Is that something that in any of the people that you were watching who kind of stood out to you, is that a component of their game? Because I suspect that is going to be a big focus during Bruins training camp, is assessing the players' two-way game.
So you're going to like Dalton Bancroft. Dalton Bancroft, we saw him at development camp. And he's invited to training camp, so we're going to see him this week. He was just signed in April out of Cornell. And one of the things I liked that I saw him in the Prospects Challenge was he did a great job in front of the net. So he's a forward, but he was doing a great job in front of the net. So he was somebody who was looking good, but he was, especially in the second game, he was paired with Fraser Minton. So they seem to be a really nice pairing up there. He didn't make a huge impression on me at development camp compared to rookie camp. And that was interesting. So I did think that was interesting. But I really was noticing him in front of the net at the Prospects Challenge. So that tells me he's got this nice two-way game. He did finish out last season in Providence. So he's invited to training camp. My guess is he's going to be one of those Providence players, at least to start. But he is vying for a job this year.
Right.
So
no. And who could get a call up? And if we believe what Don Sweeney said today at his press conference, that they're not trying to keep the young players out of the NHL. So clearly he's been hearing or reading some of the criticism that the organization has faced about, their lack of development of young players or giving them an opportunity to play at the NHL level.
And I am hoping, because there's a lot of potential with a lot of these kids, that I'm hoping they're getting that chance to come up, not just for injury, but maybe because they're earning that spot.
They're earning a spot.
We saw Riley Duran. He was at Providence last season. So, and he actually came up. We saw him briefly with the Bruins.
Yes.
Again, at the end of the season. He's actually a Boston local, and he went to Providence College. Like, he's total local guy. We know Sweeney loves him. But you know what? I had a lot of fun.
Shocker.
I had so much fun watching him in the Providence in the Bruins playoff run. Like, he was just really fun to watch. He did lead the stretch on the second day of rookie camp. So I always think, that's a nice honor. And he did have the A on at the Prospects Challenge.
Oh, cool. Good for him.
So, so there's some good stuff. He's fast. I have a feeling we'll see him moving back and forth. He's at training camp, but he's somebody who could potentially make that move up. He's one of the ones in particular, because he was at Providence, because he made it through the playoff run there, that he's one that I've kind of have an eye on. He's number one penalty killer in Providence.
Nice.
So we would love that up here. We need that. So the fact that we've got Dalton Bancroft, definitely a two-way player. We've got Riley Duran, special teams. So there's some good stuff coming up there.
Now, another name that I read a little bit about, and I'm going to mispronounce this young man's name. Lochmelis.
Yes, it's Lochmelis. Lochmelis. He had one of the best camps, bar none. He was fantastic.
And his position is?
So he's also, these are all, everybody we're talking about right now is forward. His natural position. Yeah. They're all forwards. His natural position is center also. The same as Fraser Minton. So again, this is where they might be a natural center, and we're going to see how they all go. But he was at UMass last year, but then he finished off with the Providence Bruins during their playoff run. 12 points, 6 games.
Wow.
So yeah, not bad there.
Not too shabby.
Yeah, we'll take it. He's slated already to play with the Providence Bruins. So he's in for the Providence Bruins, but he was invited to training camp. So he had a great backhand. We saw it scoring in the Prospects Challenge. He's somebody who is aggressive. He's in the right place at the right time. He's somebody I'm super excited about. He just shows a lot of fire.
And,
So-
I read good things about this particular player. And I believe there was a recent world tournament where he played for his homeland, Latvia. And Sidney Crosby was part of the team, Canadian team, who went out of his way to, speak to this player and let him know that, he was impressed with his game.
Well, and actually what was fun about that is when Loshmelis was being interviewed, he was great with the press because he was joking. He goes, "Oh yeah, well, Sid came up to me, told me I'm the next Wayne Gretzky," and I was joking about it. Now he did get some nice compliments from Sid, but not quite the next Wayne Gretzky. And I just loved that. Like he was just funny and engaging, and you want to see that too. Obviously, what they do on the ice most important.
Correct.
But it's nice to have a fun personality too. You want to be entertained.
Well, and I think it's helpful to have that dynamic in a room where, for all intents purposes, we don't think that the Bruins had a good room to start last season. And I think it's been, somewhat subtly confirmed over the course of the off season that things weren't all, rainbows and unicorns in that locker room.
No, I want them to have some fun. Like, we've talked about this off air. We want to see some entertaining games.
Yes.
We want to win.
We want to see good hockey.
Good, entertaining hockey.
Right. Structured hockey with, just give us that 60-minute effort.
Mm-hmm.
Give us that 60-minute effort. And yes, we did talk off air about the things that needed to change, right? This is when you take your new direction, your new steps forward. Don't be giving up. Don't be giving up leads late in a period. Don't be giving up, a back-breaking goal late in a period.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get down on yourself when you fall behind. Some of the best Bruins teams that I remember, and I'm sure you do too, not that long ago, where, even if they fell behind, you knew that they would come out and they would give it all they had to try and get themselves back into the game. And that I didn't see that last season in quite a number of games when they fell so far behind. It was just like a domino effect. It was like, terrible body language, not great effort, just kind of like a waving of the white flag. So,
yeah, no. And that was where, again, the first game in the Prospects Challenge, where normally I would have been like, okay, some good chances, some nice things happening. But I thought, oh no, is this culture of giving up, of not closing. But no, that wasn't the case by the second game. And I do think having somebody with a good personality, having some fun in there, those are the kinds of things that we want to see. We want to see that culture. We want to see that connection. You need to have a connection in order to have good play.
So is there anyone else other than the players we've spoken about that struck a chord with you?
Yeah, there's actually, let me think. There's Brett Harrison also. He had the A at the Prospects Challenge. He's coming up to training camp as well. So he played with the Providence Bruins the last 2 seasons. His stats were pretty meh. So not really that impressive, but I will say in the Prospects Challenge, he was a playmaker.
Oh,
he was right. I was seeing it at rookie camp. Like he was somebody who catches your eye. I've talked about that before, how there's just certain guys You're like, wait, why am I looking at him? Is it because he's doing something good? Is it because he's not doing something good? Or is it just because of his name?
Right.
Sometimes that's just what catches you. But he really, I was liking what I was seeing in camp, but in the Prospects Challenge, he was a playmaker. I feel like this might be his season. This might be the time when he's starting to come into his own. He had the A at the Prospects Challenge. He got the invite to training camp. So, we'll see where it goes from here. But I think he's another one that he's starting to feel himself now. So I'm looking forward to him. So that's as far as all the forwards go. There's another one who was catching my eye, Jake Schmaltz, who got the invite to training camp. He's fast. He's in position. He's always ready. He was at North Dakota last year and finished off with the Providence Bruins in the playoffs. So there's quite a few of those guys who got a little bit of playoff experience, which I'm thrilled about.
Yeah, definitely.
When they get a taste of that, they get hungry for it.
Yep.
So he's fined for a year with the P Bruins and got the invite to training camp. So those are the forwards we're going to be seeing this year. There's 3 of them that were really good that we're not going to see for a couple years. So I'm going to throw their names out there so I'm on record. And somebody says, "Oh, Maribeth talked about them." Cole Chandler.
You heard it here first.
Cole Chandler, hot ticket. We drafted him this year. I liked him at development camp too, but that kid is really a hot ticket. He's going to be playing juniors this year, and then he's committed to Northeastern for the 2026-2027 year.
Okay.
So he's only 18. So that's why he's not at training camp. He had a great rookie camp, but because he's going to be playing in juniors, he's not ready yet. So he's not trying out for a job. But he's somebody that I think we want to keep an eye on in our pipeline. We had Maverick Lachance, who his name is with no E. And he's very clear about that. He was an invite. Scored in the Prospects Challenge. He caught my eye at camp. He was everywhere the puck was. Like, he's just somebody that I really like watching. He's fast. He's competitive. He's playing juniors right now and committed to Merrimack for 2026-2027. So he was actually the only one who scored in the first game.
Oh,
so
cool.
I like Lachance. He puts himself in the right position, and when he scored, it was because he was in the right position, and it was a super simple shot because he was there. So I'm hoping we're going to see him again. He was an invite, so he's not in our system. And then Cooper Simpson, we drafted him this year. He's in juniors for this year again, and then he's committed to North Dakota for 26-27. Totally dialed in at rookie camp. I liked him at dev camp, but I loved him at rookie camp. So I'm
looking hear the enthusiasm, in your voice, right?
I'm telling you, these guys look great. So those are the 3 to watch. And again, hopefully we see Lachance again because he's not in our system yet.
Okay.
Maybe he will be. There's another draft.
Right.
Now, as far as the defense goes, we've got a couple guys. We had Ty Gallagher, who I loved at development camp. Loved him at rookie camp. He's on contract with the Providence Bruins. Every time he was on the ice at development camp, he caught my eye. And every time he was on the ice here, he was catching my eye. He had a great Prospects Challenge. He's defense, but he scored. So we're seeing this 2-way playing, which we like. Quarterback to the power play. So again, we're seeing some special team stuff coming up. I think he plays the ice really well, and he got the invite to training camp.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. Yep.
So he's one, and we drafted him in 2021. So, but he was at BU, then he was at Colorado College for graduate school. So he hasn't really had a necessarily as traditional as far as his development goes. But I think that this is one that we're going to want to keep an eye on. Loke Johansson, who we were calling Johansson, but he does not say it that way. It's Johansson. And I'm sure I'm still mucking it up, but I'm closer than I was. We drafted him last year. He's been playing for Moncton Wildcats. He did sign his entry-level contract in 2024, but he slid it because he stayed at juniors. So that means he signed it, but it didn't go into effect. It does this year, I think. He was having trouble keeping control of the puck. I'm keeping an eye on him because his name comes up. He did get the invite to training camp.
Okay.
Big guy. He's really progressed dramatically over the last year or two. But the thing with him is he's known as being really aggressive. And as I said, he had trouble keeping control of the puck, but he knew it. And then he was like banging his stick on the boards and just really catch himself. So I think we need to take this frustration, this aggression, and harness it. He's only 19. He's got a lot of developing to do, but we'll see him this year, Providence or Maine. I don't think we're going to see him with the main roster. He may come up for injury, but he's one again that people have their eye on him. He's young, and so we'll keep an eye on that one. Jackson Edward was another defenseman we want to keep an eye on. He also slid his ELC, his entry-level contract, because he played less than 10 games. So he started out with Providence last year, but then he moved down to Maine. He missed development camp this year because of injury, but he was invited to development camp, so they're seeing his stock is rising. He's known to be a physical player. Scored in the second Prospects Challenge game. So again, two-way player. So we're going to have to see, what we're going to see for his second pro season. I didn't see a whole lot from him at camp itself, but he's one who there could be something there, or
maybe he'll come up
AHL player.
Right. I feel like from the Bruins roster perspective defensively, that they're in a better situation than they are with their forward group. So, unless we just can't have any more injuries to like Hampus and Charlie McAvoy this season. But, short of something like that, I'm wondering if the names you just mentioned, if we might even see them at all this season, because I think they're pretty well cemented on the back end for the upcoming season.
I think so too. I think if we're seeing anybody, it's probably going to be Ty Gallagher. He seems to be the one to me of those that's going to be the next ready, the next man up. So we'll have to see how that goes. But
now I wouldn't mind if one of those guys pushed Mason Lohrei, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, I'm hoping with Lohrei that we're actually seeing that because he can take a little step back from having to be the defense guy of all, that we're going to see some good stuff. I think that he had too much weight on his shoulders last year, and he wasn't ready, and we all know that.
No, he was not.
So
and I'm not sure
he's
ready. He's totally there physically either yet.
No, he's getting there. There was one other invite we had, Dylan McKinnon. Who, again, we're not seeing a training camp because he's not in our system yet, but he played on the blue line with Johansson. So he was drafted by Nashville, but they didn't sign him. So he's a UFA right now. He had a solid camp. He was noticeable throughout the 2 days, played solid defense at the Prospects Challenge. I think he'd be a nice addition to our AHL side to get him into our system. I liked him a lot. So I'm going to throw his name out there so I'm on the record. So if he goes on to something, I am now on there.
So who were I don't want to say, I don't like the use of, who are the players that you were looking at that you might have expected to see more than you did?
I'll tell you the biggest one for me, which we talked about already a little bit, was Johansson. I was hoping to see a little more from him, but again, based on what I saw at development camp, not so much. There was definitely a few guys who really made no impression at all on me. There was somebody who, as I was looking at the list getting ready, I was like, wait, was he even there? So these are names
that's not a good thing.
These are names you're actually not even going to know. So they're not people that you're going to be like, oh, really? So I would say of the ones that we saw, the ones that I mentioned, they're all ones to keep an eye on. They're the ones that really everybody's like, kind of keep an eye on these guys.
Okay.
Those are the ones that didn't make an impression on me weren't really coming in with huge expectations.
Okay.
So they're
That's
ones,
fair.
I will say we did have two decent goalies at rookie camp. Rookie camp goalie, it's a little bit different than development camp. At development camp, they're just being pelted, drill, and you're just like, good luck. You don't see much from them. But because in rookie camp, they're actually playing in games, because there's more of these game drills, not just skating drills. Simon Zajac was an invite, loved him, had really hot pads, solid stop, locked in. He got the invite to training camp. So, yeah, so I was kind of surprised by that. And then there was Ben Rebick, who was an invite and also pretty good. So anyway, both of them, goalie-wise, I don't put too much stock in the younger goalies because it's such a long development period for goalies.
The goalies,
But Zajac, who again, I may be messing his name up, but he was very good. And we're going to see some of these guys at training camp. So to me, this will be a fun time to see how they're doing against the bigger teams, because we're seeing some good stuff here. Like we're seeing Fraser Minton, head and shoulders above everybody at rookie camp. Well, how's he going to do with these players who are head and shoulders above him?
Well, it'll be interesting to see what kind of a lineup is utilized for the Bruins' first preseason game, which will take place on Sunday. Is that the 22nd?
Sunday, the 21st.
The 21st. I don't believe that game is going to be either televised or broadcast on the radio. So I'm not sure how any of us will be able to follow the game other than maybe bostonbruins.com or something. But
yeah, it was usually with the games like the Prospects Challenge, you had to go to the Bruins website, or again, any of the teams playing, they have it on their websites, not on Nesson or anything else.
Right.
So that's sometimes the case with some of the preseason games. Usually, so for the preseason games, for people who haven't followed them, this year there's 6. There's going to be less next year because the CBA has been redone. So there's usually 3. Well, this year there's 3 home, 3 away. And what you'll find is starting the first game, it's going to be a lot of the people I just discussed.
Yeah, it won't be until typically the way it's worked in the past is it won't be until the Bruins' last preseason home game that we will see any of the potential the starters.
For the most part, you might see 1 or 2 pop in for the other games, or some of the
right. Yeah, here or there, but you're not going to have all
players,
of your.
But it's not going to be any lines that we're used to. It's not going to be a whole complement of things. By the time you get to that last game, you may actually see some of the lineups that we're going to see at the beginning of the season. But it's a different thing. People have to remember that preseason theoretically doesn't matter in the same way the Prospects Challenge doesn't. It's a time to get the rust off. It's a time to play around a little bit with the lines, to work on that chemistry a little. I like to think about it as coming in and starting to build the rapport, starting to build the team, and starting to bond in that way. So that way you're not coming in totally cold.
I want it to be more of a legitimate traditional tryout, because we know that the Bruins have open spots to fill.
Yeah.
Right. We have a first line.
Well, we have our first line, Pasta, Geeky, and Lindholm.
And then, second line, Zaka. And who else? Zaka. I don't even know. But, there's no denying that there are open forward spots. I'm not sure that the same holds true from a defensive standpoint. So I'm going to ask you to pull out your crystal ball, right? And of the invites to training camp, who of those players that we just talked about do you think has a viable opportunity to fill a spot either on the third line or the fourth line, potentially.
I think Minton. I think Lush Mellis. I think those are my two tops.
Okay.
And now I wouldn't be surprised to see Bancroft and Duran coming up. But I think like right off the bat, Minton and Lush Mellis are probably the two that are most ready.
Okay.
So they're the two I'm thinking that are vying for a job more than the rest.
Okay.
That's my guess on it. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I mean,
we'll see how I do.
I'm in agreement with you based on, what I've read about, their performances, and then, what your assessment has been of them in those the games that took place in Buffalo.
Yeah, I think that they do. And again, we saw a lot of good stuff. So I think for all of us who are worried, all of us who have been like, oh, last season was so terrible. And it was so terrible. It was not even just that we didn't make the playoffs. We didn't have fun watching the team. The team did not have fun playing the game. Nobody enjoyed a large portion of what happened last year. And I think that we're coming into this season. I'm feeling good. Swayman, locked and loaded, ready to go. That threw off a whole lot of things from last season. So I'm him coming in, him being at training camp, not having this cloud over, frankly, him, but that Paul.
I think it fed into other areas of the organization. Not being at.
Yeah, I think that him not being at training camp really affected everyone. I think when we see the fact that we learned Elias Lindholm was injured at the beginning of the season. He was locked and loaded by the end of the season. That top line was really clicking together. Hampus Lindholm back. Charlie McAvoy back. Hampus Lindholm was gone from December last year.
Right.
A McAvoy from February. I mean, that's a significant piece of what was missing. So we've got everybody back. We did not have a whole lot of subtractions once we hit the trade deadline. And we had a few additions, but nobody for the top necessarily. Maybe we don't really know enough about these guys. So there may be some nice additions for the top, but I think that our core group that was with us at the end of last year is carrying into the beginning of this year. And I think for this particular team at this particular time, that's going to make a difference. I think that we saw some good things happening at the end of the season to the point of, where were you last month? Where were you 2 months ago?
No, and you are right. There was a lot of conversation about that in our Discord group. And folks, please feel free to join our Discord group, because there's a lot of good conversation that happens, before, during, and even after games. So it's a safe space. It's a safe space to express your respectful opinion of the Boston Bruins. But I was saying the same thing. Where were you? Where has this been?
Yeah,
right?
And there really were. By the time we got to April, and there was some fun games happening, a few games here and there. You were like, oh, look, they do know how to play hockey. Well, so I feel good about.
I think we're going to learn a lot about this team, my view personally, based on their schedule for the month of October and early November, because they've got, murderer's rows of teams to play during that start of that season. I think we're going to learn a lot about this team in the early part of the season.
I think so too. I think, again, I tend to be hopeful, but I really am hopeful.
Well, Don Sweeney is hopeful. He believes, and Don Sweeney spoke today at the start of training camp. And again, I'll remind you folks, we are recording on Wednesday, September 17th. So he believes that they can contend. I'm not sure whose fanny he's blowing that smoke up, but
Well, I think we have a chance at the playoffs. We're certainly not going for the Stanley Cup this year.
No.
Well, let me rephrase it. There's always a chance it's hockey. It is unlikely we will be contending for the Stanley Cup, but I actually feel pretty good about getting back into the playoffs. I feel like that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Well, it sounds to me indirectly that's what he was saying, that the goal is to get this team into the playoffs, and I hope it comes to fruition. But here's, and you and I talked off air about this, here's where I struggle with the philosophy of the organization. You either need to build for the future, which means that you need to give viable opportunities for these young players to play and develop and experience NHL hockey, or you're going to keep signing NHL players to try and make the playoffs, which I want them to pick a lane and stay in that lane.
Yeah, I think if you don't have a clear vision, you can't draft to it. You can't trade for it. You can't build that. And I think without picking a lane, the vision is murky at best.
Yeah, and it seems to me we still have some murkiness even going into this upcoming season.
Well, now we're starting though with our new coach. Training camp this week, new coach.
I want to get your thoughts on Marco, because, Caroline and I did a recent episode where we shared our thoughts. We didn't have an opportunity to get your input, but I want to get your unfiltered thoughts on Marco Sturm.
Well, we know that I have a special place in my heart for the young kids, for the prospects, for the rookies, for developing players. This is Marco Sturm's wheelhouse. He is known as somebody who develops players. This is his background. This is where it came from. It makes me feel like he is going to be able to bring out some of the best of some of these younger players. And now, I don't think from everything I've seen from his resume, and from what he's done, I think he can still do that with some of our more veteran players as well. Sometimes you get a coach who can do the young players, can do the veteran players, but can't bridge that gap. I get the sense from him, though, that he is a teacher, a coach. And I think that bridges the veterans to the younger players. And maybe that's going to get some buy-in from everyone. So I'm feeling pretty good about it for now.
I was of the mindset that I think it's a lot to put on a new head coach to also, right? Because you obviously you want a coach to win, right? And so how do you put that added responsibility on Marco Sturm to help develop these young players? Because now you've elevated him. That was, that was his role with the LA Kings, and that's great experience for him to bring to an organization that clearly has had its struggles with developing their young players.
That's an understatement.
Right? I'm being nice. We haven't started the season yet, Maribeth.
A subtle dig. Well, the way that I'm looking at it, though, is because particularly last year, we struggled to bring those young kids up. What I'm hoping is because of his background and development, he's pushing to bring those younger kids up. That's what I'm hoping.
Okay.
Will it happen? I don't know. And by the time, as you said, with this added responsibility of being a head coach, maybe that doesn't happen. But my hopes are that he says, oh, let's bring this one up. Let's bring this, and as part of their development, but also for the betterment of the team.
And I also want, before we close out this episode, I wanted to get your thoughts on, two things. One was we talked about off air, and then one that came up today, again, during Don Sweeney speaking to the media. Captain by committee, and now it also appears, based on what Don said today, we're going to do scoring by committee. I'm not quite sure I understand how that works.
No, I don't quite understand that either.
Did you, like, when you heard that, what was your first thought? The scoring by committee? Like, what?
What is he even talking about?
What are you talking about, Donnie? Like,
I think, did we all have that same thought?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. Now, what I'm hoping it means is the same thing we had during what Caroline refers to as the perfect season, where it was just next guy up, next guy up, next guy up. That's
Okay.
what I'm hoping.
Okay.
I'm hoping he's saying we're taking the pressure off Pasta, and some other people might actually shoot on the net. That's what I hope scoring.
All
by
right, because I was just a little dumbfounded by the comment.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping it means, and I'm hoping that means he's expecting everyone to do their part. And I mean, last year, it is well known through the league how much production Pasta had compared to the rest of the team. It's just and it's talked about throughout the league. So I'm hoping that's what he means is this pressure's coming off. More people are going to be scoring, that it's next man up, that like the perfect season where, oh, you didn't do it. That's okay. I'll do it. And that's what I'm hoping it means.
I think he took a little subtle shot at Pasternak today about, he's still working on his two-way game type of thing. And I may be putting words in his mouth, but I thought, what do you want this guy to, he put up over 100 points in a miserable season.
Literally carried the team as far as he could. He's like, that's all I've got. I've given you everything.
I'm just, anyways. And captain by committee, how do you feel about that? Good, bad, indifferent?
I'm of two minds. I don't love it, but I also look and say, but who would it be? So I don't love the idea in general, because I do think if you trade your captain, you need to know who's the next guy in. So I don't love that there wasn't somebody readily available for that. And it tells me maybe you shouldn't have traded your captain, but that's
let's not regress.
Conversation from last year. But I don't love that. But I also do think we don't have a ready-made captain today. So there's not somebody I'd point to and say, yeah, absolutely put Pasternak, give him the C, absolutely McAvoy, give him the C, absolutely whoever. There's not somebody I'd readily point to. Now, I'm not in a locker room. We don't know who's really the leader in there. We don't know who's got the voice. But I think that because so many people were out by injury, because last year was just so disheartening, and because the trading of our captain was so unexpected and shocking, I do think that giving it a little time to simmer is great. What I don't want to have happen is the same thing that happened with the Swayman negotiations, where it cast this pall and it carries on. So I'm hoping that everybody's on board with it, that they continue with this, and it's not some competition where people are playing against each other to try and get the C. That's my concern with it.
That's a good point you raised, because it sounds like Sweeney wants it to develop into somewhat of a competition. Let's see who is going to be the voice or voices in this room.
And if it comes up naturally, and it could, then I'm all for it. But if it's I'm trying to drown out your voice and you're trying to drown out my voice, that's not going to work. So it could be a really great thing that the natural leader rises to the top, or it could end up causing a big rift and causing a problem. So I'm of two minds. I guess there's no way to know unless we see whether it works or not.
Right. And I'm not even sure we'll know how it plays out again, because we're not in the room. We'll only hear, speculative comments that might be made by people who cover the team, or, someone who gets like some sourced information from someone inside. But TBD on that. Maribeth, thank you so much for all of the time that you took and all of the information and education. I know I always feel more educated when we have you on. And, now I know players that I'm going to be keeping a little bit of an eye on during these upcoming preseason games, just to, kind of see, oh, she's right about this
Hopefully
guy.
she's right.
Yeah.
And then just we will do an article on rookie camp, just like we did, and it'll be on the Discord. So that'll come out over the next week or two. Hopefully people find the Substacks really helpful. I think some people like to hear it, some people like to see it. So anyway, I'll have an article on Substack over the next week or two as well.
Well, thank you. And folks, thank you all for listening, for watching. You can follow us on all of our socials. We're on X, Instagram, Blue Sky. We're at Tape to Tape MK. You can join our Discord group. You get weekly snapshots sent right into your inbox. All of the links where you can get our contact will be in our show notes. So thank you all for listening, for watching. Maribeth, thanks again. Looking forward to having you back on, and looking forward to having a season of good competitive hockey to talk about this year.
You and me both, Maria. You and me both.
So in closing, I'll end it the way my co-host would want me to end it. Go Bees!
Go Bees!